collaboration with the Cyprus Mail. This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Charalambous.
Coming up on this week's programme, we talk to our Minister for the Environment at length about waste management. It seems we could soon have to pay as we throw.
It is fact that we're lagging behind the ambitious targets that the European Union set, so we are trying to catch up.
If you can describe a scientific concept in 3 minutes to a non-scientific audience, there are some big prizes up for grabs at Famelab.
The first prize is €1,000 in cash and in addition an all expenses paid trip to the UK in order to represent Cyprus at the international Famelab competition, which every year happens in June in the framework of the Cheltenham Science Festival. The second prize is €500 and the third prize €250.
And a concert of classical Indian music takes place in Nicosia next week, with instruments many of us have probably never heard being played.
It's a fretted, plucked lute-like instrument, and it produces pitches in 3 full octave ranges.
The Environment Department of the Ministry of Agriculture held a consultation between December 5th and the beginning of January. And the whole idea was to consult on a draft of the waste management regulations. If you're a regular listener, you'll know that we're not very good at recycling in Cyprus, and waste management is a big problem, particularly in rural areas. So it's a great pleasure to welcome to the programme this week our Minister of Agriculture, Rural Development and the Environment, Kostas Kadis. Kostas, first tell us why you needed this consultation.
Let me first tell you that sustainable waste management is one of the biggest challenges that our ministry faces. And this is because the European Union has set very ambitious targets in this area in order to promote circular economy. It is fact that we're lagging behind the ambitious targets that the European Union set, so we are trying to catch up. So the government of Cyprus has prepared the national strategy for the management of municipal waste that was published in 2015, but according to the new more ambitious targets set by the European Commission, this program we are in the process of updating this program. In order to achieve the targets set by the Commission, we have prepared these regulations which define the responsibilities of local authorities for the preparation and implementation of local waste management plans and the establishment of a national separate collection program and pay-as-you-throw scheme. It's time to see these initiatives being implemented in Cyprus.
So I'm sure that the pay-as-you-throw isn't going to be particularly popular here. People are used to just chucking everything out. A little bit of recycling is going on, but it really hasn't, has it, reached the whole population of Cyprus? And unless it does, you're using the stick rather than the carrot here, are you not?
I wouldn't say that. I would say that we are more mature now, and many people are expecting this kind of initiatives. Actually, if we don't promote such schemes, we are going to pay the fines imposed by the European Union, and we have to pay a lot of money for the management of the waste which are sent to the
landfill.
Yes.
But we've been paying that for years. We keep saying we're going to close the landfills. Why are they still operating?
They will operate by the end of this month, of February, and that's it. They're closing now down, and all the waste material will be sent to the manufacturers that are established for the management of the waste.
And have we studied whether or not those plants that will do the waste management can cope with everything that they were already doing and what was going to landfill?
The target is that the maximum of 10% of waste to go to landfill by 2035. This is the European Union target.
So we will still have landfills?
Yes, but this very small portion of the waste will go there after the treatment. After the treatment in the special manufacturers that we have for the waste management.
So they're going to treat the waste that will go to landfill before it's landfilled?
Exactly.
And are we going to still operate? How many landfills do we have? We know the big one, of course, but there's another one down in the west of the island, isn't there?
The two main landfills that we have are going to close. There is one in Kochatis and there is one in Vati, which are closing definitely by the end of February.
So where's the new landfill going to be?
Most of the waste of Nicosia, Larnaca and Famagusta are going to Koshi. And there is a small landfill close to the plant. And the waste of Limassol go to Pendacomo.
Now, that's a problem, isn't it?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about the problem.
There's a new unit there, which started operating in 2017. And indeed, there is a problem. Actually, what was in the contracts is that the outcome of the whole procedure of the waste management will go to Vasiliko to be used there as a fuel material.
But I thought that it wasn't as high quality as it was supposed to be, and therefore there's a problem with, for example, what it can be sold for, and whether or not Vasiliko can make any decent use of it.
Yes, that's where we are now. In Vasiliko, they say that they cannot use this material, and we are investigating the whole issue, whether we are going to make modifications to the plant, which is, of course, an obligation of the contractor to promote such modifications. But what we want to reach at the end of the day is to produce a material, to produce the outcome of the whole procedure to be appropriate, to be used by the Vasilikon.
I've got to ask you, how come the plant at Pendacomo was approved with, quite obviously, not proper consultation about the end product being done before the approval was given? I mean, it's a big embarrassment, frankly, isn't it? We said, go ahead and build this, and then we find that it's useless.
Yes. And I am not the most competent person to talk about this, because this agreement was done when the waste management competences were under the Ministry of Interior. So this is an issue that we have undertaken to
correct.
Yes.
Let's hope you can. Now let's get back to the man in the street and the consultation for municipal waste. Mm-hmm. What response did you have during the consultation from members of the public or interested companies?
As I mentioned before, I think that people are waiting for such schemes. Actually, there were some pilot initiatives, for example, in Aglanja municipality, that they were quite successful. There are some reservations by the local authorities, by certain municipalities. They want the support of the government in order to implement such schemes. But as we already announced, we will provide this support. We will provide technical and economic support to the local authorities, to the municipalities, in order to implement such schemes. And also, we also have European funds to allocate towards this direction. So I would say that with the collaboration of the local authorities, we will see a lot of improvement, achieving our efforts and our targets towards the obligations that we have to the European Union.
Right, now, if people are going to pay as they throw, it's obvious that you want them, therefore, to send most of their waste to the different recycling streams. But wherever you go, you see full containers of recyclables. So the recycling collection doesn't seem to be working properly either. What's to be done about that?
Well,
is that contracted out by the government or by the local municipalities?
Yes, it will be an obligation of the local municipalities. But as I mentioned before, it will be supported by the government. And a new, let's say, a more efficient mechanism will be established. That's our aim. And many other organizations, such as Green Dot, have a role to play, and we are looking forward towards collaborating with them. And maybe the plan is to implement different schemes in different areas. For example, we have specific characteristics in the areas of Limassol, Aia Napa, Prodaras, Larnaca.
Tourist areas.
Yes, in the tourist areas, where we have there is an intensive period with a lot of waste during the summer. So this scheme has to be in line with this. With these particularities, yes.
The other problem, of course, is the rural areas up in the mountains. Green Dot doesn't go there. It says it can't do outside the towns. What are you going to do about them?
A different scheme can operate for these areas. For example, in these areas, we can promote composting. I mean, every family can have the...
Yeah, but you can't compost glass bottles, aluminium cans, and that sort of stuff. This needs to be island-wide if we're going to meet the European targets, surely. Now, let me ask you something else, actually.
60% of the waste material is organic material. So if we manage to deal with this portion of the waste, I think that we will make a very big step towards achieving our targets. Of course, we have to deal with the other kind of materials like the ones that you mentioned, and this is...
But Green Dot receives a percentage from the importers of the packaging to deal with what's imported here. Why can it pick and choose where it gets its lorries to go and where it says, no, can't go up there? And isn't it obliged to do it? It is
not viable, they say. Economically, it is not viable. We have to find other ways and to maybe to subsidize this kind of schemes, because Green Dot says clearly that such a scheme going to the rural areas cannot work and being economically viable.
Quick sum up from you then as to when we expect this new regulation to come into force. I presume it's got to be discussed in Parliament after you actually come out with the blueprint for the new regulation. That can take years, can't it?
I wouldn't say that. Our purpose is to go to the Parliament within 2019 and have the regulations in force in 2019, and by then to prepare the mechanism that will support the local authorities to implement the separate collection program and the pay-as-you-throw scheme.
And that is our Environment Minister, Kostas Kadis, talking about the possible new regulation on how we manage our waste in Cyprus.
This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Charalambous.
Now, here's a thought. Can you explain a scientific concept to an audience that is not scientific in just 3 minutes. That's the challenge of Famelab, which has taken place for several years now in Cyprus, and the deadline for applications for this year is Friday the 15th of February. Joining me to tell us all about it from the British Council is Monica Tandelli. Monica, explain a little bit about how this started, because it's an international thing, isn't it?
Yes,
and
it is.
Cyprus, if I recall correctly, has got quite a good reputation.
Yes, from the very first year, yeah. Can I just make a parenthesis to say that the competition in Cyprus is co-organized by the British Council and Cyprus in collaboration with the Cyprus Research Promotion Foundation. So let's say in general what Famelab is. Famelab is a science communication competition which is designed to inspire and motivate young scientists in order to publicly engage. As you said, they have to present in public something scientific and in a simple way so that it's understandable to people who are not scientifically, they don't have a background in science.
And talk us through when Cyprus joined it, because the first year was a resounding success. Okay. And when was that? It was a few years back.
It was in 2011, the first year. And it was a great success because we won first prize at the international competition with Dr. Mirtani Pieri. And the second year, it was a shared second prize with Mr. Ioannis Karibidis. So the first 2 years were quite successful. After that, we didn't get a prize within the 3. But what we always say, whether you get a prize or not, either at international level or even at national level, you're always a winner. As long as you participate in this competition, you get the experience, you become part of the network, which is now an amazing number of 77 in Cyprus, a network of 77 young scientists. So you're a winner anyway, whether you get a prize or not.
Yes, but the Famelab Cyprus winner will also be going off to the UK for the international final, and that's all expenses paid.
Yes, let's talk about the prizes. At national level, we have 3 prizes. The first prize is €1,000 in cash, and in addition, an all expenses paid trip to the UK in order to represent Cyprus at the international Famelab competition, which every year happens in June in Cheltenham, in the framework of the Cheltenham Science Festival. The second prize is €500 and the third prize €250.
So for people who haven't seen, because I know they're on YouTube and things, the sort of thing that you're looking for, very difficult, I know, without the visuals to do it on radio, but just sort of give us an example of some of the things that have been successful.
Okay, first of all, let's say that what the judges are looking for, which are the what is actually required from the organizers, is the 3 C's, as we call it, which is clarity, content, and charisma. So the presentation has to be correct in content. It has to have clarity. You need to present it in a way that it's clear to a non-scientific audience, because for you as a scientist it's clear. So the challenge is to give it in a simple and clear way so that everybody can understand. And the third one, which is difficult to explain what it is, it's the charisma, which some people either have it or not. So
that's the engagement with the audience, isn't it?
Yes.
If you can get the audience on your side
yes.
and make them interested.
Yes. And that's what we always advise them. It has to be a simple presentation. We are not allowed to use PowerPoint, or it's just oral presentation.
But they can use props.
Props, exactly. Props are very small items which can help the contestant to make the presentation more engaging and easier for them, as long as it doesn't distract them from the actual presentation. So it can't be something big which you're going to be focusing all the time. It needs to be small, close to you. It's going to help you through the presentation, but it won't take from the actual presentation focus.
Now, do you help any of the people who sign up to do this with any sort of, I won't say a boot camp, but I mean at least a little bit of help in terms of the mistakes not to make and so on? Because we're talking about anyone aged 18 or over, so could be anyone, but particularly the younger end of that spectrum, they may not be very comfortable with public speaking.
Yeah, exactly. So let's say that people who apply, if they're eligible, they have to be invited at the semi-final. And from the semi-final, we get the 10 finalists who win a 2-day masterclass training, as we call it, which is a training delivered by an international science communicator. So we have an international science communicator coming over a weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and this year it's going to be on 4 and 5 May at a venue which is going to be confirmed later on. So during this training, the international science communicator gives participants all the tips that they need. The person makes them go through live interviews or live presentations to make them feel comfortable, and after each presentation or interview he or she comments what the mistakes were, how they can become better. So it's a very helpful, the feedback we had so far from all the participants is that it's something excellent, and it's you can see, if you see a participant at the semi-final and you see them after the masterclass, it has a totally big difference, in the presentation.
What sort of topics or scientific principles have been presented in Cyprus?
Well, the general areas, it's science, engineering and mathematics. So we don't have any fixed. As long as the topic fits one of these three big areas, it's fine.
Yes, but what ones have been done in the past?
Okay, we had presentations about DNA. There were a few about astrophysicists. What else? We had a wide spectrum, but these were the two main ones I remember, especially DNA. A lot of people...
to explain DNA.
Yes.
We've all heard about it, but not a lot of people really know what it is or how it was identified.
And quite
so
a few
on
on
engineering.
Engineering and how it's...
So if somebody listening wants to register, what do they do?
As you said, the deadline for this year is Friday, 15th of February. All the conditions are on the website. So if I can say at this stage, the website they can go on into to find more information. So they can visit www.britishcouncil.com.cy/Famelab. So if they go on the website, there is all the information they need, whether they meet the conditions. If they meet the conditions, they can apply within the 15 February deadline. The shortlisting of applications will happen sometime between middle and end of March. Then,
and how do you shortlist them? You read through a proposal, presumably, but you haven't actually seen the person present it. Do they send you what they imagine their presentation is going to be?
Yes, they send us a short paragraph of what they think they're going to present. And of course, the selection is not according to the presentation. It gives us an idea. The selection happening is based on the eligibility criteria. So if they're over 18, if they are citizens of the Republic of Cyprus or citizens of third countries who are legally residing in the Republic of Cyprus the last 6 months prior to submission of their application, and if their presentation is within the areas of science, engineering and mathematics, then they are eligible. So if they are eligible, they're okay and they're invited to the semi-final. So the selection, the shortlisting, is based on the selection criteria.
Okay, and then at the semi-final they will do their presentation, and that's when you bring out the 10 finalists.
Yes, who go through to the masterclass and then to the national final. And the winner of the national final is the person who represents Cyprus at the international final.
All very exciting, but I'm sure if you look on YouTube, you will find several Famelab presentations which are absolutely fascinating, particularly if you don't know an awful lot about science. So that's Monica Tanteli from the British Council telling us about the Cyprus Famelab, and you have until Friday the 15th of February to apply at www.britishcouncil.com.cy/Famelab.
Keep up to date with events in Cyprus and around the world with the Cyprus News Digest.
On Tuesday, there's an unusual concert, in fact, a unique concert of Indian classical music taking place at the Shoe Factory in Old Nicosia, organised by the Pharos Arts Foundation. From the foundation, Garo Keheyan joins us. Garo, I don't know anything about Indian classical music, and although I know that the Pharos does do all sorts of different types of music, is this the first time you've done Indian classical?
Yes, I think it is, Rosie, and it's part of a wider perspective we have introducing the music of the East, as well as, of course, the classical Western tradition, of which we are probably, the leading foundation on the island, which promotes Western classical music. We have, as you know, over the last years, promoted classical Persian music, and there are, of course, connections with the subcontinent, with Persian music, with the northern Indian, particularly tradition, when the Mughals and the Persian influence was very strong in northern India. So we are very keen to promote the classical music traditions of the East as well, and that primarily will perhaps involve India and China and Japan. And I think that 2 years ago, for example, we did, as part of our Contemporary Music Festival, the thematic of the festival was Eastern and Western instruments in the context of contemporary music. So the concept we're going to have now is a traditional classical Indian music, and particularly the instrument of the music of the south of India, Carnatic classical music. And this ensemble is from that region, the Tarnak ensemble. I think there's 6 musicians, and they'll be playing the music of the Carnatic tradition with particular an instrument called the veena.
Now, that's a very interesting instrument. I think I've read somewhere that not only is it one of the oldest musical instruments, but it's been considered to be the closest to the human voice. So what does it sound like?
Well, it's a plucked instrument. I think it's similar to, if we want a Western analogy, it's part of the lute family, I would say. But it's been a very popular instrument in classical Indian music, and actually it's a revered instrument, I would say, and it appears in the iconography of India. For example, the Hindu goddess of arts and learning, Saraswati, is depicted holding this instrument. But there are two directions the instrument. There's the northern Hindustani version of the instrument, which perhaps was influenced by Persian music and the Mughal tradition, and then there's the southern classical Carnatic tradition, which is a different tradition from the south. And the instrument, as I said, it's a fretted, plucked lute-like instrument, and it produces pitches in 3 full octave ranges. But it's I think very, very close to the human voice, because rather like again in the Western tradition, we say the viola and the cello are close because of the timbre of the instrument. I think has a very rich human resonance.
So what sort of music are they going to be playing? Because I think they do, the Tarang ensemble, also mix in different traditions.
Well, this is right. They're going to play the southern Carnatic classical tradition, but I think that Indian musical ensembles which are presented to the West are trying to, have some kind of a fusion with Western traditions to some extent. So I'm not sure how pure it will be in the sense of presenting the very pure. I would like it very much. I'd love to have, and I'm going to ask them to play this great exponent of this instrument, who's a very well-known veena player. I hope that she will actually play some solo veena pieces. But there is, even with the Persians who come here, there is this desire to fuse it with the more folk traditions and fuse it with Western somehow. So I'm not very sure myself how pure, but I'm very keen on it being very pure classical. But I think there is a desire to
perhaps to make it more accessible to people, but then the sort of audiences that come to the shoe factory are pretty open-minded about their music, aren't they?
Absolutely. I think they would like to hear very pure, very authentic, very traditional, very ancient sounds, if you like. But as I said, the cultural policy often of cultural institutes, and we are doing this in association with, of course, the Indian High Commission, but also the Indian Institute for External Cultural Relations. And I think they have a particular perception about what is acceptable or desirable in the West.
Well, one thing's for sure, Garo, it's going to be a fascinating concert. I don't think there's any doubt about that. It's taking place on Tuesday at the Shoe Factory at 8:30. Where can people get tickets and how much are they?
Well, tickets are our usual ticket price of €15 with concessions at 10 for pensioners and students. And tickets can be purchased online through our website, I think, through
Which
PayPal. Our website is farasartsfoundation.org. Yeah, friends, of course, and supporters of the foundation can call our office at 22663871. But that we do book and reserve tickets for friends and supporters.
Because it is a fairly small venue, isn't it?
It is. We seat around 150 people, so I think it'll be full. So I really do advise people to book in advance.
So that's the Tarang Ensemble, led by renowned Veena player Saraswati Rajagopalan. I hope I got that one right. It's taking place, as we said, on Tuesday at 8:30 at the Shoe Factory in Old Nicosia. Well, that about wraps up this edition of the Cyprus News Digest. Many thanks for your company. Hope you'll join me next week. Till we meet again, take care and God bless. Bye-bye now.